Looks like we're good. All right.
Okay, we are live.
What's up, everybody? I hope you're doing well. We are another snowstorm here in New York City. Like that's the last thing we needed. But anywho, I'm sitting outside in my backyard.
Yeah, I love your neighborhood, Mark. It looks
Nice,
so
right?
different from where you used to live.
Yeah, it's my brownstone right there, the one behind me. Uh, so what are we doing, man? Welcome everybody to another episode of Police Off the Cuff After Hours. If you don't know by now, my name is Mark DeMeo. My co-host, my partner in all things law enforcement, Bill Cannon. What's up, Bill?
Hello, everyone, on this snowy New York evening. For you guys that aren't in New York, we got about 6 inches.
Yeah, man. We got a great guest. He's a returned customer.
He loved it so much he came back.
Who knows why he came back? But he's coming to us live from Staten Island, New York. He's a doctor, a psychologist, and he works a lot with police officers. He does a lot of suicide prevention help, and he helps us out. If you need somebody to talk to, he's the man. Dr. Stephen Wakschal. What's up? How are you?
Good. Thank you.
Thanks for coming back, man.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Most people do it once, and they run for the hills and never come back, man. They never return our calls.
Especially we give them a hard time, man. You know, it's like we're not even paying for that. What are they? It's in psychology. It's a 40-minute hour, right?
Right.
Is it really?
Did you know that, Mark? It's a 40-minute hour. Yeah, there was only reason I remember there was a book called The 40-Minute Hour, right?
Yeah, time to write some notes, to book the next appointment.
Give me my money.
I was going to say collect the coin.
That's right.
It makes sense. Yeah, I get it. Some cleanup time, you know.
Right. Absolutely.
So, how's business?
Very busy. I've transitioned strictly now to telemedicine, just doing what we're doing. My office is closed. It's still there, but it's not being used. I'm not using it. Seems everyone, patients and staff, just prefer this venue. It's just a lot easier. It's a lot more comfortable for the patients. You know, they enjoy sitting at their kitchen table, having a cup of coffee, not having to go out in weather like this. I didn't think it would be that successful, but I would say probably at least 95% of my patients prefer this.
How are we going to get these people out of the house, though? Now that everybody's so comfortable doing everything from home, how are we going to get them out of the house once this is all open?
It's a struggle. I mean, part of what I do is try to get across to people that they're not trapped. They have this feeling like I'm stuck, I'm trapped in my house, but the reality is they're not. So I encourage them just to take a walk outside, go for a drive, see there's traffic, there's potholes, the world is going on, but they feel trapped, a lot of people. I think now with the vaccine, a lot more people feel, a little bit less anxious about venturing outside and being in crowds a little bit.
Did you get your first shot, Doc?
I got my second.
Holy shit.
I got my second.
Well, you're the 65 age, right? I don't want to out you, but
no, just as a provider.
Oh, nice.
Put me on, yeah.
I got a date, and it's because of comorbidities from 9/11.
Right.
That my date's not till April 15th, so I won't get the second one till into May because I wanted to go to Florida for a while, but sure. I feel strange about traveling without having the vaccine,
No, I fall into the 9/11 category also, but this one came up first, so.
Yeah, crazy.
I fall into that too. I didn't bother looking into it. I figured, you know what? I want to let like all the frontline workers get it first, and then if they survive, then I'll get it.
Yeah, I'm watching all the firemen. If all the firemen live and they survive the shot, then I'm going to visit the firehouses and query them,
Take one.
First shot, I had no reaction. Second one, I had a slight fever. It's about 14% of the people are getting, sick for a couple of days.
Yeah.
My son, he has it because he's in nursing school. So he got both of them. And the second shot put him out for about a day. Like from that evening to the next day before sundown, that's when he started feeling better.
Right.
But he had, the low grade fever, the body aches and all that, and then it went away.
Yeah.
how healthy is this for people just mentally when they start reading stories about how, oh, just because you have the vaccine doesn't mean you can get it. I mean, what the hey, man?
I think the worst pandemic we have is not COVID. It's the ignorance and lack of science that people are paying attention to. People are going out there half-cocked with these, these ideas and these numbers and these theories, but they're not looking at the science. It's the, Dr. Google. It's, well, I know a guy who,
But Doc, part of that is that the press tries to scare the shit out of people.
Absolutely.
And the press is so irresponsible in
Yep.
so many ways.
Well, if you look at some of the headlines, this person died after getting vaccinated.
Right.
And then in small print, but it had nothing to do with the vaccine.
Right. He got hit by a car.
Exactly.
Shit, Mark, I'm gonna have to use that joke if I ever do stand up again.
Yeah, exactly. So it's,
Yeah. It's a trying time right now, really, especially for people who are fragile. Before all this, God bless it, man, because this is this plays right into most people's fears anyway. If you were walking around and you were either a germaphobe or you had a fear of whatever fear you had. I mean, this.
Yeah, I'm finding that people who had pre-existing anxiety, some sadness, even depression, it would be worse. And for those who never had it at all are experiencing it for the very first time. So it's, it's really
And depression too, right?
Say it again?
Depression.
Absolutely.
Doc, I was so depressed yesterday. I went out to Long Island. I picked up a case of Cabernet.
Yeah.
Because I know, even though when you're stuck in the house, what other tragedy is bigger than not having any wine, right?
Yeah.
Thank you guys for those super chats. Bill Ryan, Tim Acosta, thank you both for the $5 super chats. Mark, I just want to say hello to some of our people on the chat. Diane B, Tim Acosta, MC's Audio, he's a big fan of ours, 12-Step Woman, Ryan Investigative Group, of course, the great Lieutenant Peter Pranzo. Richella, how could I mention Peter without Richella Pranzo also? Hoppy, I love that. Diane B and 12-Step Women. Hello to all you guys, and thank you for being such loyal fans of ours.
Hey, why don't we give a shout out to Aaron Rodriguez, who sent us the wine.
That's right. I thought you were going to show his bottle.
Oh, I have it here, but if I get up, I'm going to knock over my neighborhood behind me.
I'll get it later and I'll show it because it's a really good Cabernet he gave us, actually.
Yeah, you're a big wine drinker, and you gave it your review prior to us starting.
I looked it up. It's a very good Cabernet, so.
All right, that's good.
But let's get back to the good doctor here, because he's going to enroll us in AA if we keep talking about. Doc, one of the things that we talked about the last time, 2019 was a disastrous year for police suicide. It was just one of the worst nationally. I think it was just one of the worst years, and also one of the worst years for the NYPD. And then 2020 was a miserable year for police, but not as bad for police suicide. Do you have any explanation for that?
I have some thoughts on it. In fact, this week marks the 1-year anniversary of the passing of Detective Federico, the mayor of Central Park, as he was.
Right.
And that was 2020. One of the 3. In 2019, we had 10 officers take their lives. In 2020, we had 3. Always keep in mind the numbers are not hard and fast, because we don't know actually if somebody took their life or not.
Right.
Single occupant motor vehicle crash, an accidental discharge, an overdose, so the numbers are not hard and fast. Some even say the numbers may be 10 to 25% higher than what the statistics show.
Wow.
And don't forget also, we don't really track retiree suicides the way we should.
That's a big problem too, right?
Yeah, well, we just had one. we had someone retired January 1st, I think, and he took his life on the 27th.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So that, that's a big deal. I think a couple of things. One is, what I think is the biggest is the department's in-house peer program. I think it's tremendous because I'm getting a lot of referrals through that program. So I actually see it in action. Really, cops are going to other cops in the precinct. And it's an interesting phenomenon because they're going less to outside organizations that are offering support, but they feel more comfortable talking to the cop who they muster with, who they change in the locker room with, who they, riding in an RMP with. They just feel.
And are cops like trained not to go rat the guy out to the commanding officer and do it officially through the department?
There is a terrific protocol that's in place. And they really also understand confidentiality, because there are organizations that promise 100% confidentiality. That doesn't exist.
Right.
That doesn't exist. You do the best you can to maintain confidentiality, but 100% doesn't exist. But with the peer support, they're trained, they go through intensive training, and they come out knowing all the protocols, everything to do. And
so there's designated cops in every precinct that have this training.
Correct.
Oh,
correct.
That's great. That's a great program.
I don't have the numbers, but I guarantee you it's got to be well over 500 who are trained at this point.
Wow, that's fantastic.
That are trained. There was at one point where they were also going to have a psychologist in each precinct. I don't know if that initiative fell through because of the whole shifting, defunding,
right.
stuff, or other reasons. I'm not privileged to that, but I think that too at some point might be helpful to do that. So I think that's one of the main things is the peer program. If you listen to some experts, some people feel that because almost like a 9/11 effect, the public loves cops because of what was going on. And what I said to them was, I guess they missed the Barclays parties, every night, or the Brooklyn Bridge parties every night.
Right.
I haven't seen the
love's not there anymore. No, there's no more love,
Exactly. I haven't seen that.
Yeah.
But I think it really is the peer, that peer program that's doing a lot. The other piece of it, though, is that there's almost like a commiseration. It's where cops now are generally, universally, by a large section of the population, disliked. So it's not like I'm disliked and everyone else is liked.
Right.
We're all disliked. So it's not like that solitary, I'm isolated, I'm alone, I'm by myself. It's like we're all in this together. And I think that's been protective when it comes to suicide as well.
Right.
That's something I keep bringing up on the episodes where you have this. Seems to me like there's a lot of kids that join the academy that they want to be different than all the other cops that came before them. I'm going to show them how it's done. I'm going to show them not to be racist and this, that, and the other. And then at some point on the third day, when they're at some protest again and they're getting hit with a brick or somebody's cursing out their whole family, wishing them dead, then they look to their left and their right. They realize these are my brothers and sisters in blue right here. I don't have these other people. They don't know that I'm cop of the month. They don't care that I care for them or I got on the job for a specific reason. So it becomes that us against them mentality.
I just want to thank 12-Step Woman for that $9.99 super chat. Thank you so much. We really appreciate it. Duty Ron's on the scene. Lovely Plans. Dawn Marie. Diane B. Thank you guys all. And we have a great guest, Dr. Stephen Wakschal. One of the things I'd just like to tell our listeners right now, the department has made some inroads relative to suicide, because it used to be a cop would be afraid to turn himself in. It still is, but they put some other measures in, because once you told or admitted to having an alcohol problem, you couldn't have a drug problem because drugs are illegal. They would just fire you. But if you said you had an alcohol problem or a depression problem, the first thing they would do is take your guns from you and put you on limited duty, and you couldn't make any overtime. There was a stigma attached to it. And that in itself could result in suicide.
Sure. Yeah, the interesting thing about suicide is that in suicidology, there's a saying, if you've seen one suicide, you've seen one suicide. but very often there's a quest to find the cause. We already know the cause of suicide. We know the genetics. There are 4 specific genes that are associated with suicide. We know the developmental factors. We know the environmental factors. We know the immediate factors. We know what causes it. But our tendency is to have that knee-jerk reaction of, all right, let's have some seminars, let's have some conferences, let's do that. And I went to a conference not long ago, and the first probably hour was breakfast. After that was introductions. After that was the people who were being introduced spent time saying, look at me, look what I've done.
Yeah.
And the rest of the time were people saying, wow, look what he's done. And I left. I knew someone years ago who was very, very wealthy in real estate development. And I had said to him, I notice you never go to conferences, seminars like all these other developers do. And he said, let me tell you something. If you're busy going to conferences and seminars and classes, you're not working. You're not making money.
That's true.
So
But Doc, there's a lot of professions that love to pat themselves on the back.
Absolutely.
Right away, I think of Hollywood. They love giving each other awards,
Right.
and saying how great they are, and the public's sick of it,
No, I understand. I agree.
Mark, you have any thoughts on that?
Well, yeah, man. Listen up, guys and gals. We are sponsored by the best hot sauce in the world.
That's your thoughts on this?
Well, no, I just figured it was time to read the commercial. Where'd you go, Bill? Oh, there you go. Oh, you got the phone number up there? Yeah. Silk City Hot Sauce has gone out of their way to sponsor us. They're a big fan of the show, and they have a phenomenal hot sauce. I've tried all 5 now. I'm a big hot sauce guy. I love adding it to all my meals. And what they do is they create these small batches, and they use pure ingredients. They use the locally grown peppers, and every bottle of Silk City hot sauce has these ingredients. There's a mild to wild, so whatever your taste buds like. If they like it really hot, you got that. If they like just a taste, a little tinge, you can get that too. They have great names like Bobby Biggs Chipotle, Aztec Attack, Badass Jew, Slurp. The Badass Jew, I think, is the best one because they know how to eat. Mango Madness, Climate Change, Maple Dragon, Killer Hot, and Ghost Whisper. Go to silkcityhotsauce.com, and if you can, please put in the code. You'll get 15% off. Our promo code is OTC for off the cuff. silkcityhotsauce.com. OTC off the cuff will get you 15% off, and they'll send you a free bottle of cherry sriracha, their newest brand. Now back to the weather.
Mark, you take any longer to do that commercial, we're going to have to charge the guy double.
Well, I want to make sure that, this guy's getting his money worth. And, Jeff Levine, he went out of his way. And we're accepting all sponsors right now. We got a couple of people that are waiting to get on the show as well. Back to where we were. You know what I wanted to know? Do you, when the cops are needed, because you mentioned the discrepancy between 2020 and 2019. 2020, we all know, was the worst year that I can recall, and I'm 53 years old. And but the cops were they were always being called in. If it wasn't for a demonstration, it was for the Corona thing. You're busy. You don't have time to think too much. But 2019, when you get those breaks, prior to 2020. So what do you think? You think when it slows down a little bit, God forbid, all these people that went through all this stuff during this pandemic and with the George Floyd and all that, you think there's going to be a spike again?
I think you raise a good point, because anytime anyone has time to be alone with their thoughts and spend too much time thinking and becoming over analytical and, looking at something from every possible, combination and permutation, becoming introspective, retrospective, that could sometimes lead to depression. And cops, 2020, they were distracted. Here on Staten Island, I mean, our COVID numbers in precincts were off the chart. We had other precincts covering other precincts, and it was bad.
You mean the cops getting COVID?
Correct. Cops getting COVID. But I think that cops are a lot more resilient than people give them credit for. And that's actually what I was saying before. It's that there's not, a universal reason for cops to take their life. People say PTSD, for example. Okay, it's PTSD. Common sense has to be brought into the discussion because PTSD is not that easy to get. It's not that easy. Right now, what is it? 15 to 30% of law enforcement suffer from PTSD. But that means that 70 to 85% don't get it. So or they say, well, cops take their lives because of investigations or financial problems or relationship problems or retirement. If that was the causality, we'd have no cops. We'd have no retirees. So, go ahead.
Explain to our audience the difference between PTSD and having a memory. Because a lot of people think that if somebody asks you a question, what did you do on 9/11? And then you start talking about it, and God forbid, you cry a little bit or you really get emotional. It takes you back. It's not PTSD. You recall the memory, right?
Thank you. Because again, to be diagnosed with PTSD, there's very, very specific criteria that's laid out. It's criteria in terms of symptoms, but the symptoms have intensity, duration, frequency. You have to rule out other conditions that might look like PTSD, but PTSD often becomes like flavor of the month. Oh, he's crying. He can't think about 9/11. He has PTSD. Or this kid can't sit still in class. Well, he's got attention deficit. Or look at those mood swings. They're probably bipolar. People just a lot of times become flavor of the month, but PTSD is not that easy to get. It does have a high correlation with suicide, but how about the cop that just had a DOA kid, and he's home, crying or upset, or a man under, and he's pulling entrails off an axle. You're allowed to have a normal reaction to an abnormal situation.
Right.
I always go by the idea that behavior is a message. It's not a diagnosis. Don't throw labels onto people. Get to know them before you do that.
But Doc, I always thought, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, I always thought that anyone that does this work 20, 25 years, 30, maybe less than that, has a level of PTSD. I think I have a level of it. Sometimes real bad images pop into my head, of horrible things I've seen. Isn't that a level of PTSD?
But it's like, with PTSD, again, the criteria are very specific. There's no diagnosis that says low-level PTSD.
Right.
Just like
that's the Sergeant Cannon diagnosis.
just like Asperger's syndrome, kids on the spectrum. So with this, there was a doctor out here on Staten Island who would say, well, he's not Asperger's, it's sort of like a washed out Asperger's. Well, that doesn't exist.
Right.
There's no such thing as washed out Asperger's. It's either you got it or you don't got it.
Right.
And again, PTSD, a lot of us I have a little bit of it, a year and a half on the pile, I have it.
Yeah.
But then it becomes, is it really debilitating? Look at the Article 2 board. Article 2, their 3/4 pension for PTSD, their guidelines are if you've been in some traumatic event and you return to work following whatever time off you were allotted, and you worked and you got decent evaluations, you do not have PTSD.
But Doc, didn't you get an officer the first case of a disability pension for PTSD, and you were the instrumental in that?
Yes. And the way we
I want to give you a big hand.
the way we did that, not to tell secrets, but I could tell secrets. It involved using part of that diagnosis, which is called late onset PTSD. So I was able to speak to his condition while working, justify that, but then after working, late onset PTSD. And that's what got him a pension.
Wow.
That's what got him. So, that was good.
One of the things that we would also like to talk about, since we're talking about suicide, is we'd like to talk about wellness and what you should do for yourself to keep yourself mentally and physically healthy.
Sure. Wellness used to be, or we can call it self-care, used to be this warm fuzzy, make sure you, take it easy, make sure you, take a bubble bath, whatever you do.
Yeah, I take a bubble bath. Mark does my back with a loofah scrub.
I just had talk about PTSD image.
There's got to be some laughs too. That's what prevents
Absolutely.
PTSD.
But the reality is that self-care has become really life and death at this point. We know that if you don't practice the self-care, that it really does start to affect your biochemistry, that it really does, start to have some really detrimental effects. Your cortisol levels go up, affecting your kidneys, liver, pancreas, heart, bad stuff. So self-care is very important. One of the things I highly recommend is exercise. Just to put in a plug, I'm the clinical consultant for NYPD CrossFit, and it's amazing. This as a group who watches out for each other, who has regularly scheduled routines, who get themselves involved in competitions and social activities. That's one thing. If you're familiar with Austin Glickman, he does Leo Weekend.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
we had him on the show actually.
So that's something else. Go
Yeah.
to Lake George for a weekend. Go swim with the kids and have fun. I went last year, 2 years ago. It was terrific. But aside from that, just doing mindless activity, playing a video game, going for a walk, picking up a camera and taking some pictures. But what's the problem is that cops have a hard time making themselves the priority.
Right.
But it's just this predisposition to put everyone else first.
Well, so many of them now, because the part of the defunding the police is cutting overtime. So they're not making enough money. So I would imagine a lot of new cops, especially, have to work a second and third job.
Second and third.
Yeah, just to get by. And, when the city wants this professional police force, and with really a lot of unrealistic expectations, they want a cop to be a social worker. They want him to be a ninja. They want him to be able to arrest someone without putting their knee in his back. They got some real issues there,
Yeah. But again, you bring up a good point. When there is no time for self-care, literally, because I have people who are working 3 jobs.
Yeah.
They swing from one to the other. And you may say, well, the third one, they're just sitting in a car in front of a construction site, but
you still have to be there, right?
But they're still there.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in those cases, what we try to do is have them work self-care into their workday, at least, even if it's 5 or 10 minutes of meditation. The department's entire wellness program is really good. They're doing yoga, which is getting really nice response. Other meditations. There's some really good wellness, real good focus on wellness.
I don't know if I would have liked to be on the desk and see the TS operator going, I think it would have freaked me out.
I hear you. But just a few minutes of mindfulness, I didn't think it worked, and then I did it and it worked. So
Yeah.
I became
What's that, yoga? You talking
not
about?
yoga, just some simple grounding technique, to focus on the here and now, using your senses. Just taking a minute and say, what do I see?
Hey, did you ever took a look at the psych? We go through 2 different. Well, it used to anyway. You used to have the written psych, and then you went and met with, I guess, a psychologist or a psychiatrist.
Yeah.
Are they? Do you ever take a look at that test? Are they looking for people that were predisposed, somebody that's predisposed to suicide or something like that? Somebody who's overly depressed, or is that what they're looking? Because I always thought they were looking for, they just didn't want somebody to go out there and blow everybody's head off, But are they looking for that person?
They are. I mean, the test is, it's 537 true and false questions. Many of which are repeated throughout, just to look for consistency, that you're not, I read the New York Times cover to cover, like that you're not bullshitting them. They look for anger, they look for depression, they look for anxiety, they look for personality disorders. It looks for many things. The problem, and I just had this recently with an applicant who his test score on one of the scales within that test came back as too aggressive. the psychologist at applicant processing, not having a lot of clinical experience, said, no, he's too aggressive. And I spoke to her, I said, no, that's a leadership skill. You could look at it as an aggressive skill, but you never look at a scale in a vacuum and say, oh, he's too aggressive. No, that with this, and this shows leadership, not aggression. So,
I think there's
Good, Doc. You gave her a spanking.
leadership qualities tend to be a alpha male trait. And the problem with it is that anybody with a remote education now and in that position is looking at that alpha male leadership quality as a bad thing. And that we should be put down, because that's not what we need right now. We need subservient men, so this way we can balance out the playing field. And if you have somebody that you could tell is going to be a leader, that's not good. And that's what I think happened in that situation. I'm Monday morning quarterback, and I don't know anything.
I hear. Look, that's a whole separate discussion in terms of people in position based on skill, experience, quality of work versus some other criteria that they're in that position.
Well, they try to shut those people down. Those people that are alpha male, the go-getter, the guy who's going to take charge. That's not good right now, because if this guy's doing what he needs to do naturally, which is his persona, he's going to take away from me because I want to be the leader. So I got to cut him off at the knees and make sure I don't have to compete with that, which is not fair either.
No.
Let me just give a quick shout out to some more of our chatters. Duty Ron, thank you for that $5 chat. Hoppy, Rebecca Hicks, Dawn Marie. We got someone here from South Africa.
Where?
Where do I got him? Cliff from South Africa. Welcome aboard.
What's up, Cliff?
If you have any psychological problems, they'll be solved after this show. We can guarantee that.
Cliff, this is what it looks like in New York, my background right now.
MC's audio, something, I always give you a shout out. You're a smart kid. You're too smart, though. You're 20 years old. Take it easy. You're giving us too much advice, but you are a smart kid. I'm going to have you co-host one night. When either Mark's gone one night or I'm gone, you're going to come in and co-host. You guys, if you haven't watched MC's audio show, he's great. He's a great little broadcaster. Cat in the Hat, and of course, Duty Ron, Brandon Shelton. Hello to all you guys. Thank you so much for supporting us. We can get back to Dr. Wakschal now. What did we forget? We forget what we're talking about?
No. Well, we were talking about, that psych evaluation and people who are, because MC Audio posted something that when he talked to Irma, she had mentioned people with pre-existing conditions under these circumstances are, they're not going to fare well, which, I actually, I got a gig where I work a little bit of as a concierge, and some of the people that I deal with who were a little bit, out there prior to COVID, COVID's kind of sort of balanced them out in a way. And they're completely normal now. And it shocked me because I thought they were going to go over the top. And now they come in and everybody's freaking out. All the normal people are freaking out. They're like, hey, how's it going? I'm like, I thought you would be the one, that's weird.
How about the patient who is agoraphobic, who's fearful of leaving the house? Back in, March, April, May, no one was leaving the house.
Uh-huh.
These people the ones I spoke to felt great. They're like, good, now everyone's like me. I don't feel the pressure of having to get out. Everyone did.
Is that what it is? Everybody.
And it was very calming for them to be, everyone in the same boat like that.
To not feel guilty anymore for not going out.
That's right, because no one was going out.
They didn't have the pressure anymore.
That's right.
Well, that's interesting.
So, Doc, because now you don't have to pick up all these checks when you go out to dinner for your family members, right?
It's funny because you look in your wallet and like, where's that from?
Yeah, but it's really weird. No one wants to touch cash either. So you pull out cash now, people are like, oh my God. They don't want to touch it, right?
Yep. And just so you know, as a public service, GHI, Emblem Health, Beacon, that handles the mental health piece of your insurance, all copays are waived. There are no copays. So make sure anyone who is going for mental health service. Say it again?
For psychological stuff though, right?
Yeah, for psychological.
All right.
Yeah, there's no copays.
Because I just went for
26th.
I went for something that had to do with the 9/11.
Uh-huh.
And I went there. It was some type of test I had to take, X-ray, my annual chest X-ray. So I tell the guy, what insurance you got? I said, I'm here for the 9/11 thing. Oh, okay. And then now I'm still getting the $15 thing. And for me to go out of my way, see, that's what'll make me crazy. When I have to sit down and call these freaking people right now to tell them, I told that moron at the desk that it was 9/11. That makes me crazy. That having to go, I've been putting this off for 3 weeks right now. That's what eats at me, those little things.
What I've done is change my philosophy, my viewpoint. I've learned to expect incompetence. It's actually become the new standard. And if somebody does like a decent job, that's amazing.
That's a good way to do it.
That it is, because even if I go to Burger King, okay, I get the burger, but I open it up, there's no burger.
Just pickles.
Just pickles.
Yeah, the pickle sandwich.
Right.
Doc, someone in the chat wanted to ask you, that applicant that you went to bat for, did he get hired?
Yes.
Oh, good. That's great. That's great.
But I no longer do the applicant appeals. I refer them all to Dr. Daly, who used to run psych services, but now does applicant. He's terrific. He does applicant.
Because people could also have a bias against certain people, and just fail them on the psych test to get rid of them, and that's a little scary. And I wouldn't doubt that the department's doing that.
Oh yeah, man. That's a big one.
I'm also always asked, if I get a cop who's got some serious emotional issues, did he develop that on the job or did he have it before? And very often, the guys that I'm seeing, their level of mental illness was way before they came on the job. Way before. You'll get some stress disorders, you'll get anxiety, you'll get some reactive depression from the job. But some of the true, that radio's talking to me illnesses, that's a different ballgame. You're not getting that from
the radio is talking to you though. Isn't that weird though? The radio's talking. Yeah, it is.
That sounds like the guy who was trying to get 3/4.
It's telling you to pick up your job. Yeah. That's your job. That's in your sector.
I should have said radiator, not radio.
Oh, okay, radiator. Yeah. Yeah, it's such a trying time right now, and even for the like me, I'm a happy guy. I'm a go-lucky guy. You know what I'm saying? I'd be the last person that you would think would ever like. And it's tough, man. It's tough because we've all lost something. We've all lost money. We've lost opportunities. We've lost memories. These poor kids that, are doing without their prom, their graduation, all this stuff. And they're toughening it out. And there's just, whenever you see like a little bit of end in sight, right? There's always these people that come around from the back, like the vaccines out. So there's an end in sight. And then they come from the vaccines doesn't work for everybody. You could still get it. It really is, man. I don't know why. A lot of it has to do with the media and preying on us and doing stuff like that. But I don't understand why we're so, why we would do that. Why we test people's.
I think part of it is just the nature of science, that like science evolves, and this is a game we haven't been to. So, we're really learning on the fly a lot of this. Some of it's decades old, some of the research of certain things, but the pandemic itself is so science is constantly playing catch up. So they'll give us this optimistic news, then another study comes out and they just pulled the rug out from under you. Now the latest one now is the South African variant, that it's showing the Pfizer vaccine is not as effective against that one. But that's only in the lab, that's not in the real world. So again, people are now, I thought okay, we were covered. And so that's exactly what you're saying.
The press in this country is so irresponsible. I really, I'd like to give them a big smack in the face, all of them. It's so, they're Ed Mullins called that one politician a whore. the press are whores. They really are. They're disgusting.
Because they're all fighting for the ratings, and the ratings mean that you have to find the story somewhere. So whatever I tell you, the sky is blue today. There'll be 1 million people commenting on, yeah, it was a blue sky. And then there'll be one person say, well, I thought it was gray and I didn't like it. And then a reporter will look at all the freaking things and find that one thing and say, the sky was blue, but many people or some people think that it's gray and it's not good. You know what I'm saying? So just because one person commented, that's the person they're going to gravitate to and use it for their story.
Exactly. That I mean, you're too young to remember, but back when we used to watch the news, it was the news.
Yeah.
It wasn't an opinion piece, it was the news.
Yeah, I know. There's nothing.
That's why now all I do is watch British television. I just watch British news and British television. They don't get into what we do. They really don't. They give you the news. They give you the fact.
I did sense a little accent there.
I really wish that would work its way back here. Unfortunately, I think it's going to work the other way, that we're going to infect them.
I know.
This is a travesty what's going on here. You don't know what to believe, what to watch. We're completely divided. In order to, if you're, God forbid, if you're right wing right now, they have to develop 3 or 4 different networks just for you to be able to hear, the other side of it. And God forbid if you chime up or say something that, they disagree with right now, you're going to be cut off, canceled.
Absolutely.
Could you imagine? Well, I'm not going to get political. I almost did. I'm going to leave that one out. But
so I think what everyone is dealing with more today is what's called moral injury, and versus like strict PTSD, although they are related. A lot of moral injury where things you believed would just your belief system was betrayed. With cops, I'm finding it all the time where a perp gets locked up, and seriously injures a cop or whatever, and he gets locked up and he's released. That's a moral injury. My belief system is you're the bad guy, you just hurt the good guy, and now you're out with no consequence, basically. So my belief system gets assaulted.
Yeah.
And, that's what people are dealing with.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, you notice even on social media, or you go on Twitter, and every day the police commissioner is putting some feel-good story on there about the police because no one else is. You know what I mean? The press isn't. The press may put, the police caught the subway ripper. They started calling the guy the Ripper. I mean, if that doesn't deserve a smack, I don't know what does. He's an EDP. He's a mentally. You're calling him the Ripper. You're making this like to sell your stupid advertising, Hearts Mountain bird food, whatever you're selling, right? It was horrendous, and it's all caused by these politicians with these policies they have in place.
And you can't, just the perfect word, some animal is stabbing people on the subway. I mean, but animal and all these other words, Ripper is still good though.
Yeah, right. Ripper's fine.
We're going to just keep using Ripper.
Ripper, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because we're calling him an animal. We're already saying, we already know what color this person is because it's the word animal. It's just, hey, listen, man, these young cops right now, they got a time and a half because a lot of them are educated too.
Absolutely.
They all need this 31 college credits or whatever they need to get on the job. And a lot of them actually go through the bother of finishing a criminal justice degree or finishing up college. And then they take this job because they want to show everybody how it's supposed to be done. And they realize it doesn't matter. As soon as you put that uniform on, you're the enemy for not for everybody, but for our specific group. They don't care. They don't care what color you are. You have white people yelling at black people, calling them racist. Like, because you it's just unbelievable.
And that's why I call it the batshit crazy light. That we woke up one day and someone hit a light switch and the world went batshit crazy. Cops are bad, perps are good.
I know. What is this with the Wisconsin? I know they want to release them. There's a whole bunch of reform. I just don't understand what we're supposed to do with them. You have all these major cities plagued with the homeless. The guy that was in the subway stabbing people, the Ripper, he was a homeless guy stabbing other homeless people. And they don't want to address the problem of what it is because it costs money, and then they can't play around with the other money.
Well, I seem to remember there was somewhere around 850 million to $1 billion that was scheduled to help mentally ill people.
Right.
I was working under that. I was working in the police academy as an actor, and we were they were showing basically in-service officers how to be able to detect different types of mental illness, and we would act out these scenarios for them. And then that program got defunded after, I was there for 5 years, and then it got defunded. The irony is that the only people that lost their jobs were the actors and the clinicians. Those cops, they just got moved around. So who does that hurt, really?
Right.
It doesn't help anybody. Because they still don't have an answer for who's going to go out and handle these EDPs. They don't want cops to do it, but they don't have anybody else ready to go. They don't know how to do it.
You know as well. I mean, I worked on a prison unit for 9 years. I had 7 broken bones in 9 years. I was one of the little guys on the unit. And if we were taking down an EDP, on average, it would take about 13 of us to do it. On average. And we would get tossed like rag dolls. And and we didn't have weapons or anything. It was just, you just did a street fight. So to send somebody in to an unpredictable situation where that EDP could be, yes, I understand. And 2 minutes later, your head's laying on the floor. It just doesn't make sense. It makes no sense at all.
Yeah, well, they call them violence interrupters, and it just is like when people that have no police experience, or for that matter, any field, when people that don't have experience in a field are making policy for that field, does a surgeon, who tells a surgeon or looks at the protocol for a surgeon, but other doctors, right?
I can watch as many cop shows as I want. I'll never be a cop. I will tell you every episode of Law and Order, but that doesn't mean, I could do it. We knew at the hospital when it was time to call in the professionals to deal with the situation, we called the police, not to come and make nice, but to resolve the dangerous situation at hand.
That's going to happen every single time because they're going to be, what we're talking about are violent situations. We're going to be talking about clinicians calling up to have some backup or asking the cops that drove him there. I think we should get some backup way prior to anything happening. You're wasting 2 officers who have to drive the clinician there. And then you're going to have call other officers there because their job is to protect the clinician. Right. Now you're going to have other officers go in there to secure the EDP. So it's doubling the manpower.
But Doc, you can never predict if an EDP is going to be violent. That's the biggest thing.
Absolutely. But one thing that people aren't talking about is the fact that again, way better than I do, gallows humor. You may say something slightly off color, not meant for civilian ears, but a very effective, very good coping skill that lets you go from job to job to job. You may say something in the midst of dealing with that EDP. That social worker now makes a CCRB.
Right.
That's a whole new world. Now you got people say, "Oh, he called that poor person an asshole." What happens now?
Yeah. It opens up a whole other can of worms. But usually in those scenarios, when you realize that you're all working together, that kind of stuff doesn't really pop up. I mean, even like everybody wants to be on either a CCRB or whatever, and you spend a couple of months there, and you realize 3/4 of these people, maybe more, are full of shit. And it doesn't take long to realize that. Yeah. And so that's what happens too. If you're a clinician, for you to do that, knowing that the cops have your back, they're not going to have it anymore. The only reason why you would do something like that is if you want to stay home, which apparently everybody, including every single teacher in America right now, wants to do. Why don't you help those people out? Can you help the teachers get back to teaching? Can you do that? Cops are out there every single day doing their job. The firemen, the nurses, the doctors, dealing with all types, kids, adults, and for some reason the teachers can't get back to work, man. They want everything perfect, man. They want rose petals laid out for them when they walk into school that day.
Doc, when this is finally over,
Yeah.
I'm talking about the pandemic. What other are you going to see some like post mental health issues once this is over?
I think we'll see issues that aren't expected, like 9/11. One of the things we saw after 9/11 was a tremendous amount of marital issues. And people are like, why marital issues? Because a lot of people after 9/11 got this mindset, life is short. So I'm buying that boat. I'm buying that Corvette. And so on September 12th, they put a deposit. You couldn't afford a Corvette on September 10th. You can't afford it on the 12th.
Right.
Then the bills come in. Now the marital upset.
Mhm.
So we see a lot of domestic stuff that I expect to see. With kids, it's different. I think kids are gonna, kids tend to be more resilient than adults, but it's been going on longer than anyone expected. So I think we're going to have some regressed behavior with kids, some socialization problems with kids, because it's going on too long. Look, when it first started, I was the first one to say, wow, you don't have to go to school for a couple of weeks? That's great. I would have loved that as a kid. But now a year later, no problem.
So hard. What they're doing to these kids.
Yeah, it's horrible.
They don't realize what they're doing to these kids, and it's all just to protect themselves.
And you know something, there was no need for it. Because what's the reality? 3 million students are homeschooled every year. Separate from the pandemic, 3 million. They go on to the finest universities. There's no university that doesn't accept them. And they all come under the auspices of some terrific organizations, Homeschool Association of America, that have all the curriculum, the activity, everything's in place.
Uh-huh.
New York, all they had to do was say, listen, we're going to put everybody under these programs. Everybody's being homeschooled for a year.
Uh-huh.
Stop opening, closing. If you're positive, we'll close for 3 days. If you're negative, we close for 2. These crazy algorithms just put everyone under an established homeschool program. That's already out there. The unions wouldn't allow it.
Yeah, because you're not going to need the teachers anymore.
Exactly.
That's
Doc, who's also been outed during this are all these universities that are charging $70,000 a year to go there. I think they should cut their asses back too once this is over. The Columbias, the Harvards, the Yales, all of these schools, the NYU's charging $70K a year. Where did they get off charging $70,000 a year?
They don't even want to refund parking permits.
It's you know what? Listen, I paid for my daughter, for her to to have her keep her room up there.
Right.
She goes upstate to school, and I would do it all over again, because half the reason why she's still sane and she's still okay is because she's up there with her friends.
Right.
And then have rented the same house, and then the other boys too, and they still have their little get-togethers.
Yeah.
But to just be paying for college the same rate for them to sit at home and take the class online, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, and that's who's going to suffer the most, because we're giving. I remember like an online degree held a certain really? You went to school online and that's all you did? Now all of a sudden those are going to be valid, and plenty of people are going to choose to get their educations online.
Sure.
Not only are you probably they're going to give you a discount rate, but you also don't have to pay, like you said, for parking. I don't have to commute. I could do it on my own time. I could take this class whenever I want. The teacher's going to be able to lay down that lesson. You're going to be able to click in and watch it. I don't have to go live. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I can do it at my own. So that's going to be the wave of the future. They don't realize they just shot by these teachers not coming in. They've eliminated themselves.
It's very true. That's true. And
I'll
tell you one thing. I taught online. I taught at college online, and it's more work for both the professor and the student. It actually is way more work.
And think about this. If you're teaching your class online, then why wouldn't I just take the best teacher in that particular course rather than align myself with a school? So, for example, I want to learn about psychology. Right. I'm going to go to Dr. Wakschal. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to watch his because he's the best. I want to be trained by the best. So now I don't need that college. I don't know who that professor is. And we're all going to be based on who has the most hits. who has the most likes, I'm going to look on what other students like this person's class, and you're going to be making it globally. You're going to be teaching your class.
They have a variant. What is it? Rate my professor, where students go.
Yeah, I
on,
know.
Right.
You know,
Disgusting.
you know who to take and who to avoid.
I know, but well, a lot of it has its value. But you know what I'm saying? Because some of these professors are just they're in another world. You know, they have no personalities, and they're not the best. They don't budge for a second. But it also hurts the ones that graded people evenly and fairly. If you gave me a C plus, and I thought I wanted to get a B, of course I'm going to write something bad about you. You know.
Oh, you're right.
So what else do we got? What advice can you give to a fellow law enforcement that's working now and maybe feeling a little bit, they get home, they're having an extra beer, an extra drink.
My go-to is employee assistance unit. That's the go-to. They're really, again, such a well-oiled machine in terms of assessing the issue, making the referral, staying with the person, following up constantly. They're terrific, coupled with the in-house peer. And something, just something as simple, which nobody does, I don't get it, is due diligence. If you're going to use a resource, spend 20 minutes. Just do a little bit of due diligence looking into that resource. It doesn't take much. I was mentioning earlier, right now I'm doing a lot of damage control because there's a clinician, I call him pseudo clinician, because they may have the letters after their name, but they don't have the experience, who made a very public statement that every single suicide is preventable, every single one. Do you know what that's doing to families of cops who took their lives?
Guilt.
First of all, it's not true.
Guilt. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not true. 20 to 40% are not preventable. Science has demonstrated that time and time again. But now I got to deal with these families who are like, what did I miss? What did I do? So a little bit of due diligence. Look at who's making statements. Look at organizational resources. Look, any organization that's a nonprofit has a 990 form. Mm-hmm. It's accessible. It takes 2 minutes. Look at it. Why do you have 6-figure salaried people in a charity that's supposed to help me? Why, why do you have millions of dollars in assets, but you're looking for donations? Why is that? Just a little bit of due diligence.
Well, Doc, with that, having said that, a lot of these major universities have billion-dollar endowments, billions, not millions. Right. Like, why are they collecting this money? Because that money, a lot of it's coming from the government on our tax dollars. Why are they have this power of the purse? It's just crazy. Doc, the last time we had you on, I remember you said something. I thought it was pretty cool because I said, "Is it okay to go out drinking?" And you said, "Yeah, of course it is, as long as it's not 4 or 5 nights a week, or you're not doing 4 to 4s, 4 or 5 nights a week. If it's every once in a while, that's almost like a self-care thing that relieves tension. You're out with the boys, the girls, whatever. And it's a good thing."
If alcohol causes problems in your life, then you're a problem drinker. I went for a haircut this morning. My barber, old world Italian barber, says, "You know what? We're closing. It's early." Takes out a bottle of cognac. Was you want a sip? Of course. It's snowing out. We're closing. There's 3 or 4 guys there.
Yeah.
Should I not do that?
Right.
It's okay. If it's a problem, if it's misuse, if it's excess, if it's affecting your performance, then it's a problem. You have to speak to someone. That doesn't mean you have to go to the farm.
Right.
It just means you need to talk to someone. Same with suicide. You have suicidal thoughts?
Oh, he had to show us that he's drinking alcohol?
Yeah. You're having suicide.
I'm sending him to the police off the cuff farm.
Someone having suicidal thoughts, you don't have to go to a hospital. You need to talk to someone. It's not an automatic.
Right.
You brought up an interesting point when you said that it's not all preventable. I worked with a great guy who committed suicide, and I tell you, we had the most. Every single day he walked into roll call, it was just. There's certain people in your life where as soon as you see them, you just start laughing. And he was one of them. As soon as he walked in the door, this freaking guy, and he would do the same thing to me. And he would just laugh, and he would go, we could stand roll call, and then we would just break each other's chops for as long as we could. And it was every single day. And then in the middle of breaking, how's your family? All right, everything all right? Get out of here, you freaking loser. But he was the happiest guy one of the happiest. Always laughing, always doing jokes, always breaking balls, and you would never ever suspect it. So this idea that his family would have known, I don't know what he did when he went to his house, but when he went home,
within that 20 to 40%, some are revenge. Some are, you know what? You just pissed me off. I'm going to kill myself. It wasn't planned. It wasn't showing any warnings. It was just a revenge. It was an anger. It was an impulse. That's not prevent. Look, I think you guys know, I authored and I present the Conquer Suicide Training Program for law enforcement. And that's a 4-hour training. We don't make a dime. Our budget is zero. We don't take donations. We won't take donations. But that focuses on what's called suicide awareness, self-efficacy. It's just making a partner aware of somebody, of his partner or her partner, rather than reach out, call us. Reach out, call us generally doesn't work. It works sometimes. What works better is training the guy in the seat next to you to know what to look for, what to say, what to ask.
For the officers that are out there on patrol right now or watching the podcast, how do they get involved with something like this? I haven't heard about it.
With the Conquer Train, they can go to the website, www.conquersuicide.org. We were down for the pandemic, but we're going to be starting up again in March. We have some meetings already planned to start, the ball rolling. It's not funded by Northwell Health, but it's under their institutional review board because we are collecting data. So it will be the first scientific-based program to treat suicide prevention for NYPD. There's no other one out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other one that's evidence-based. So Northwell Health, Lenox Hill, Staten Island Hospital, we're doing it under their umbrella of.
So this person in the command is basically like a delegate, except they're a delegate if you call them up and say, "Listen, man, something happened, and I keep thinking about it." But that person is trained. You can talk to them.
Well, you're talking about the peer program.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, the peer program is what's his name? Shane is doing that. That Shane. Yeah. So yeah. He's he's the one who's really heavily involved with that. My program is not a department program.
It's doctors you're talking about?
Yeah.
I worked with him.
I know. Yeah. So
he's great. He's a beautiful person.
He'd give you all that information about the peer support program. He's terrific.
Doc, one of the things when you said that about that person that said every suicide is preventable.
Yeah.
I remember as a boss, sergeant, I went to this suicide, and it was a young doctor who was an emergency room doctor. And when I walked into the room, he was in a white T-shirt and gray sweatpants, and he had 3 bags of intravenous connected into his body, and he was dead. And he left like about a 6 or 8 page, extremely articulate suicide note. And in it, just to synopsize it, he spoke about his life and how he always had a privileged life and he had everything he ever wanted. And he excelled at this and excelled at that, but he was miserable. He was just miserable, and he had tried suicide before. And and the letter was also like an apology letter to his family. But he also wanted everyone to know that if he was successful in the suicide this time, it was going to make him the happiest person in the world because he was so miserable that the only way to relieve his pain was this way. And one of his doctor friends was there, and she was an anesthesiologist, and she told us what was in each bag. Mm-hmm. She said this bag was just designed to slow down his heart to make him comfortable. The second bag of intravenous, I don't know the drugs. She goes, that was meant to kill him.
Okay.
She goes, the third bag was a knockout punch in case the second bag didn't work. So he was real serious. So there goes an unpreventable suicide.
Yeah.
And you bring a good point. Suicide is to end the pain. It's to end the pain, to end the suffering. But if you are trained to ask the right questions, to know what to look for, sometimes you can make a difference. But
Right.
20 to 40% of the time, you cannot. They're going to do it. You know?
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. It's what you do is amazing, Doc, because it's the answers. It's like when it comes to suicide. I just told you one story, then you heard another one. Two opposite ends of the spectrum. There's no clear path, no way to. Every situation is different, and
Exactly.
no matter like how much your family loves you, how much your friends support you. There's just something wrong. Something's not right, and you don't want to play anymore. You don't want to. You're feeling pain for some reason, and you want it to end. And a lot of these people hold on way longer than they should, just because they don't want to hurt everybody around them.
That's right.
They know they're going to cause them pain, and it's the only thing that keeps them around.
But then at some point, that doesn't hold.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Listen, I saved somebody's life. He was committing suicide. And don't ask me why. He decided to send me a text message. And I was like, it's just like, I just so happened to be running late for the gym. And I knew exactly what he was saying in his cryptid text message. So right away, I called him up. And he told me where he was. First question, I went right into detective mode. I didn't ask what you doing, how you feel. I said, where are you right now? And he told me. I said, what room number are you in? Because he was in a hotel.
Yeah.
So what room number are you in? And that's when he phased out. Not only that, but he cut his wrist. He didn't cut his wrist this way. He cut it this way because he went online to research it.
That's the right way.
I called up the hotel. First of all, I called up that local police department. Then I told him, I said, my friend's committing suicide in this room, in this hotel right now. Thank God he checked in under his real name.
Okay.
And I called up the hotel. I said, the police are on their way over there. Get your security. My friend's in there. He's trying to kill himself. This is his name. And they saved him, and he's still alive.
Wonderful.
And that's what I do.
Yeah. Does anyone from our live chat, we're going to be closing remarks soon, have any question for Dr. Wakschal that they would like to ask the good doctor? Don't all come in at once, They had all kinds of questions earlier, but I don't see any. A lot of people are just talking about
there's a whole other conversations going on with the chat, which is pretty cool. But that what I told you, Doc, was a true story.
No, I have volumes of story. We've had people in the hospital on what's called one-to-one observation, and they took their lives while under observation. There's a million stories.
Yeah, but if you're out there and we're friends, don't count on me. I'm just telling you, that guy got lucky. You know what I'm saying? I'm not Dr. Wakschal here, okay? That guy got particularly lucky. I was running late for the gym. I made the mistake of looking at my phone.
I see a lot of at least when I was on the job, a lot of the PBA and the SBA and the delegates were really selfless people that would give above and beyond of their time to save another cop's life, and they deserve a shout out too.
Absolutely.
I mean, they were all heroes, those guys.
Hey, before we split, we'll do another shout out to the people that tuned in tonight on our chat. Bill, if you want to do that, then I'll read.
Sure. Duty Ron, thank you for all you do for us, for the Police Off the Cuff fans and family. Duty Ron's helping us revive our show here. Not the show, but get us more fans. His fans are coming to see us. Joey Brooklyn, Rebecca Hicks, Michelina Serino, MC's Audio, Scotty Wagner, Bill Ryan, Rebecca Hicks, Joan Hale, again, I'm reading some of the same names over and over. 12-Step Woman, thank you so much for the super chats. Cat in the Hat. I love some of these names. Some of your handles. I love these names. Larry Bennett. Thank you guys. I can't shout out to everybody. Thank you guys. You know who you are for supporting us. Rachella Pranzo, Lieutenant Pranzo. Thank you so much. You guys are some of our greatest fans, and we appreciate your support. If you want to join us on Patreon, www.patreon.com/policeoffthecuff. We have 3 tiers. 7 is the bucket. $9 a month is you can polish my rack, and it's actually my rack. And for $11 a month, you get to dip them in butter. I won't say what you can dip in butter, but you can imagine. And that's the premier $11 per month. And please subscribe to us on YouTube. We're picking up a lot of fans through the help of Duty Ron. We have great guests, as you could see, and we appreciate your support.
And before we say goodbye to the doctor for joining us, I just wanted to mention one more time that if you like eating and you like a little spice to your food, don't forget to try the best hot sauce in the world, Silk City Hot Sauce. It's made in small batches with pure ingredients, locally grown peppers. SilkCityHotSauce.com. Use the coupon code to get 15%, which is OTC, off the cuff. SilkCityHotSauce.com. Just how it sounds. And
Mark, again, just to make sure they know it's not OTA, it's OTC.
OTC.
You don't get the shit for free. It's not on the arm, right?
No, it's not on the arm. But listen, somebody was mentioning the other day about trying to order. They were trying to order one bottle. One bottle is it's like $5, one bottle. But order 4 bottles. You order the whole 5, you get the whole set. And this way you get the 15% discount. It doesn't kill you. The bottles aren't that big. And they're really scrumptious, man. I enjoy the crap out of them. I'm going to have some of it right now. And Dr. Wasco, let me ask you a question before you take off. Do you have some advice for the officers that are out there right now that are in the grind? Maybe they haven't had an RDO in a while. Maybe they
don't have a barber that has cognac.
Yeah. What advice do you guys to give to the young people out there that are working really hard?
Again, self-care. Whatever helps them get through the day with self-care. Something for them, making themselves the priority. Taking the time to enjoy. Again, it could be a walk in the park. It could be anything. Playing a video game. Just some time for themselves. And if they do have any disturbing thoughts, anything that's emotionally upsetting, talk to a peer support in the precinct. Talk to a delegate. You mentioned the delegates. I mean, Paul DiGiacomo as the president of the DEA, an amazing person. His heart is in every single cop that he, is under his umbrella.
Same thing, Eddie Mullins from the SBA. There's a guy, he'll do anything for a sergeant.
That's right.
Or not even a sergeant, any cop. He'll do anything.
These are special people.
Yeah.
Take advantage. The resources are there.
Michelina Sereno mentions watching, if she's in the mood, she'll watch Maude, Laverne and Shirley. She's, Carol Burnett, stuff to make her happy.
Perfect.
Old-time TV. Whatever it is that you do, that kind of stuff is okay.
Perfect.
And music.
And Doc, someone said that the Doc looks like the guy from MASH. I don't know who he's referring to.
As well as Joe Torre. As well as the guy from Back to the Future. I can give you a whole list.
Well, you should have had your hair cut if you wanted to look like the guy from Back to the Future. Not only that,
but you look like the guy from Impractical Joker's dad.
Right.
Get that ever? You got the same face as that guy.
That's right. Yeah. I just don't have their bank accounts.
That's right.
Yeah, they're making some loot. Yeah, I wish we all had it here.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully we'll be able to get together for a drink
Absolutely.
In the not too distant future.
Absolutely.
Doc, you're a great man. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
I really, really appreciated you coming on again. I think this is very helpful to everybody who the following's grown. We got a bunch of people in the chat, 38 people that stay with us. We're going to share it all over the place right now. More people will watch. So thank you for your time, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you for your